The story of Samson begins during a dark time for the Israelites, who were oppressed by the Philistines for 40 years. In the town of Zorah, a man named Manoah from the tribe of Dan lived with his wife, who was barren and childless. One day an angel of the Lord appeared to her and promised that she would conceive and give birth to a son. The angel instructed her to abstain from wine and unclean food, and he declared that the boy would be a Nazirite dedicated to God from birth. He would be instrumental in delivering Israel from the Philistines. Excited and amazed, the woman rushed to tell her husband about the angel's message. Manoah prayed to the Lord, asking him to send the angel back to teach them how to raise the boy. God heard Manoah's prayer, and the angel returned. Manoah asked the angel what rules would govern the boy's life and work, and the angel reiterated the instructions that his wife must follow. Soon after, Manoah's wife gave birth to a son, whom they named Samson. As Samson grew, the Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir within him. While he was in Mahaneh-dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol, Samson encountered a young lion in a dense forest. The lion roared and charged at him, but Samson, filled with divine strength, tore the lion apart with his bare hands. He kept this feat a secret from his parents. Later, Samson went to Timnah to marry a Philistine woman. His parents were dismayed by his choice, but Samson insisted that she was the right one for him. They did not know that this was part of the Lord's plan to confront the Philistines. On his way to Timnah, Samson encountered the lion's carcass and found a swarm of bees and honey. He ate the honey and shared it with his parents, still not revealing the source. At the wedding feast, Samson proposed a riddle to his 30 Philistine companions. Out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. He offered a reward of 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes to whoever solved it within 7 days. The Philistines were unable to solve the riddle, and on the 4th day they pressured Samson's wife to coax the answer from him. She eventually revealed the riddle to her people, and they were able to solve it. Infuriated, Samson went to Ashkelon and killed 30 Philistine men, taking their clothes and giving them to those who had solved the riddle. He returned to his father's home, and his wife was given to one of his companions. Later, during the wheat harvest, Samson went to visit his wife, but her father refused to let him see her. Samson then went out and caught 300 foxes, tying them tail to tail in pairs. He fastened a torch to each pair of tails, lit the torches, and let the foxes loose in the Philistines' fields. The fields were ablaze, and the Philistines were enraged. They asked who had done this, and they were told that it was Samson, the Timnite, because his wife had been given to another man. The Philistines burned down Samson's wife's house and her father's house. Samson swore revenge on the Philistines and attacked them, slaughtering many. He then went to a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines went up and camped in Judah near Lahi. The people of Judah asked them why they had come to fight them, and the Philistines replied that they had come to capture Samson. 3,000 men from Judah went down to the cave in the rock of Etam and told Samson that the Philistines were their rulers and that he had caused them trouble. Samson replied that he had only done to them what they had done to him. The men of Judah agreed to tie Samson up and hand him over to the Philistines, but they swore not to kill him. They bound him with 2 new ropes and led him up from the rock. As he approached Lehi, the Philistines came toward him shouting. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson, and the ropes on his arms became like charred flax, falling from his hands. Samson found a fresh jawbone of a donkey and struck down 1,000 men with it. He then threw away the jawbone and went to a spring called En-Hakkore, which means the spring of him who called, because he was thirsty and had cried out to the Lord. Samson went to Gaza and spent the night with a woman there. The people of Gaza surrounded the city and waited for him at the city gate, planning to kill him at dawn. However, Samson got up in the middle of the night, took hold of the city gates, and carried them to the top of a hill. Later, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the valley of Sorek. The Philistine rulers went to her and offered her a large sum of money to lure Samson into revealing the secret of his strength, so that they could subdue him. Delilah repeatedly asked Samson to tell her the secret, but he tricked her 3 times. Finally, he told her that his strength was in his hair, which had never been cut because he was a Nazirite. Delilah then sent word to the Philistine rulers, and they came to her with the money. She put Samson to sleep on her lap and had someone shave off his hair. When he awoke, he was weak, and the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza, binding him with bronze shackles. While Samson was grinding grain in prison, his hair began to grow again. The Philistine rulers gathered to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to celebrate their victory over Samson. They brought Samson out to entertain them, and he was placed between 2 pillars that supported the temple. Samson prayed to the Lord, asking for strength to get revenge on the Philistines. He then pushed with all his might on the pillars, and the temple collapsed, killing himself and the Philistine rulers and all the people in the temple. Samson's brothers and his father's family went down to get his body and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the tomb of Manoah, his father. Samson had led Israel for 20 years. His life is a powerful reminder of how God can use even flawed individuals to accomplish his purposes. Samson's extraordinary strength was matched only by his human weaknesses, but in the end, he fulfilled his divine mission. Through his life, we learn about the importance of faith, the dangers of temptation, and the ultimate sovereignty of God's will.